By the time that HOA Karen filed her fraudulent lien on my 3,200-acre ranch, I already had the FBI investigating her $2.3 million mineral rights heist, the evidence documented, and her confession recorded. She thought she was stealing from some ignorant farmer. Turns out this farmer had been quietly building a federal case for months. Picture this. You're fixing a fence post on land your great-grandfather homesteaded back in 1960, when you could still claim your piece of the American dream with nothing but sweat, equity, and determination. The morning mist rolls across pastures where 3 generations of your family raise cattle. You smell the fresh hay, hear your Angus lowing in the distance, feel the crunch of gravel underboots that have walked this same path thousands of times. Then you open your mailbox and find a certified letter that changes everything. Notice of property sale. Your 3,200 acres have been sold at auction for unpaid HOA dues of $847. That's exactly what happened to Jake Riverside. And what he did next didn't just destroy one corrupt HOA. It sent shockwaves through the entire system. What would you do if strangers legally sold your family's legacy while you were at work? Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from, because this story proves that sometimes the quiet ones hit back the hardest. Jake Riverside, 52 years old, third-generation cattle rancher, had calloused hands that told the story of honest work. His great-grandfather had homesteaded this land when the rolling hills stretched as far as you could see, bisected by a creek that never ran dry, dotted with black Angus cattle that knew Jake's voice from a quarter-mile away. After his divorce 2 years earlier, Jake split his time between the ranch and his job as a diesel mechanic in town. The mechanic work paid the bills while the cattle operation slowly rebuilt itself. His 2 teenage kids, Emma and Tyler, spent weekends helping with fence repairs and feeding. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. Then Marlene Whitfield moved to the neighborhood. Marlene, 58, arrived from California 5 years ago with her tech executive husband and enough attitude to power their smart home. She bought into Meadowbrook Estates, a development of 47 luxury homes built on what used to be the Johnson family's wheat fields. Within 6 months, she was HOA president. Within a year, she was making everyone's life miserable. "Those cattle are an eyesore," Marlene announced during her first visit to Jake's front porch, her designer heels clicking against weathered wood like a ticking time bomb. Her perfume hit Jake like a chemical weapon, clashing violently with the honest smell of hay and livestock. Property values in our community depend on maintaining certain standards. Jake held the leather-bound property deed his grandfather had passed down, feeling its familiar weight in his work-roughened hands. "Ma'am, with respect, your community ends at that fence line. This here's been cattle country since before you were born." But Marlene wasn't listening. She was already planning. The harassment started small. Jake's mailbox got knocked over twice in 1 month. His cattle gate was left open, sending 30 head of Angus wandering down the county road. Anonymous complaints flooded the county offices about unsightly agricultural activities and potential health hazards. Then came the property assessor, looking confused as he walked Jake's land with a GPS unit. "Sir, I hate to tell you this, but according to our records, portions of your property have been reclassified as part of the Meadowbrook Estates HOA jurisdiction. Shows here it was updated in 2019 due to abandoned agricultural status." Jake nearly choked on his evening coffee. The bitter taste matched his mood as he stayed up until 2 a.m., reading legal documents by lamplight. Abandoned. He'd been running cattle continuously for 15 years, paid every tax bill, maintained every fence, filed every agricultural exemption. But somehow, impossibly, his 3,200 acres were now listed in the county registry as part of Marlene's HOA kingdom. No notification. No hearing. One day his land was his. The next, it belonged to a suburban development that hadn't even existed when his great-grandfather first broke ground. The smell of diesel fuel and morning dew couldn't mask the stench of something rotten in the county courthouse. And Marlene was just getting started. "You have 30 days to comply with architectural guidelines," her next certified letter read, "or face daily fines of $50. Your barn is a non-conforming structure and must be removed or modified to meet community standards. Jake stood in that same spot where his great-grandfather had first surveyed their slice of heaven, watching the sun set over land that had fed 3 generations. The cattle were settling in for the night, their gentle sounds mixing with a whisper of wind through tall grass. He didn't know it yet, but he was about to discover something that would change everything. This wasn't about property values or community standards. This was about money, lots of it, and Marlene Whitfield was willing to steal a man's entire legacy to get her hands on it. The harassment escalated faster than a prairie fire in August. Cease and desist letters demanding removal of barns, sheds, even his grandfather's original water well. County inspectors showing up unannounced, claiming the land had been reclassified since 2019. Jake felt his blood pressure spike. That's impossible. I've been paying property taxes for 15 years. The inspector showed him the screen, his acres listed under HOA management, classified as residential agricultural instead of pure agricultural. The change dated April 15, 2019, the exact month Jake had been working every day at the diesel shop, with timesheets to prove it. When county databases get administrative corrections, they don't require owner notification if the property appears abandoned. Some clerk could steal your land with a few keystrokes, and you'd never know until it was too late. Jake's counterattack was swift and methodical, like diagnosing a complex engine. He hired the same land surveying firm his grandfather used in the 1960s. Old Pete Kowalski's son ran it now. Your great-granddad drove those markers deep, Jake. Let's see if they're still there. They were. Modern GPS confirmed the HOA's manicured entrance sat 50 feet inside Jake's property line. Instead of confronting Marlene immediately, Jake researched her background, fired from a California HR job for discrimination. Inspector Morrison lived in Meadowbrook Estates, 2 houses down from her. Jake filed a counter-complaint about the HOA's unpermitted storm drainage, then posted no trespassing signs right through their entrance. Marlene's Lexus screeched into his driveway. "You cannot put those signs there," she shrieked. Jake leaned against his truck, holding a manila folder. "According to the original survey, ma'am, your community entrance has been trespassing on my property for 5 years." But the interesting part is how county inspectors who live in your HOA keep finding problems with properties you want to acquire. Her face went white. Jake called his ex-wife, Patricia, a paralegal. "This isn't random harassment. This is systematic title fraud. Someone's been planning this for a long time." The HOA board held an emergency meeting without inviting Jake to pile on fines, $12,000 retroactive, plus daily penalties. They classified his cattle as nuisance animals. Patricia spotted the trap, manufacturing debt to justify foreclosure. Jake hired Sarah Bennett, a sharp real estate attorney who'd grown up on a farm. She requested a complete title history back to the homestead grant. The smoking gun, Deputy County Clerk Rebecca Torres, signed the correction. Torres lived 3 houses from Marlene, vacationed with her in Cabo the week before. Torres processed it on April 15, 2019. Jake documented everything. Recorded calls, legal and estate, photos, timestamps. His big break came from 83-year-old neighbor Betty Morrison, fighting her own HOA battle. Same pattern, same clerk, same corrections. 3 other properties totaling 800 acres targeted similarly. Then the financials. HOA paid $847,000 in legal consulting fees over 3 years to Whitfield and Associates, owned by Bradford's brother-in-law. Marlene funneled HOA funds to family while manufacturing crises. The real motive emerged via PI Buck Hawkins. Bradford's company partnered with Chesapeake Energy for mineral rights acquisition using satellite data. Jake's ranch sat on massive natural gas deposits worth $2.3 million over 10 years. Harassment started 6 months after the survey flagged it. They weren't stealing land, they were stealing mineral rights, planning to lease them after HOA foreclosure. Betty secretly recorded an HOA meeting. Marlene raged. "We've invested too much. Bradford's connections at Chesapeake expect delivery of those mineral rights by December. Jake's great-grandfather's homestead grant included federal anti-speculation protections, still binding. Fraudulent acquisition violated federal law. Sarah filed quiet title action, fraud suit against HOA, federal complaint to FBI white-collar division. Jake built the Grudge Squad, 7 owners, 3,000 acres total. Community rallied. Defense fund at Murphy's Diner. Newspaper crusade by editor Tom Bradley. Sabotage followed. Poison water troughs, cut fences caught on camera. Bradford himself. IRS/EPA tips. Bribery attempt. $5,000 to inspector. Digital surveillance from Horizon data van. Jake countered. Pattern documented harassment lawsuit. FBI obstruction probe on Bradford's company. Psychological warfare. Fake social media smears. CPS calls on kids. All backfired. Community testimonials. Newspaper features painted Jake as the hero. Marlene offered $50,000 settlement for mineral rights. Jake declined publicly at press conference. Recorded call. Marlene to lawyer. Threatened bankruptcy. Threaten his children's college funds. We need those rights before the feds dig deeper. Bradford filed divorce. Company distanced itself. Board members resigned. At the county commissioners' meeting, Sarah presented evidence. Marlene confessed on audio. FBI agent Torres arrested her for conspiracy, fraud, RICO, live on camera. 6 months later, Marlene pleaded guilty, 18 months prison. HOA paid $347,000 damages. Jake leased mineral rights legitimately for $2. $8 million over 15 years. He founded the Homestead Heritage Foundation for rural owners facing grabs. Inspired new state laws. Hosted annual Freedom Ranch Days Festival. Standing on his hill at sunset, watching cattle graze where gas wells were planned, Jake knew his great-grandfather's promise held. The land takes care of the family if the family takes care of the land. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment with your worst HOA experience. Does this give you hope? Smash like. Subscribe for more outrageous HOA drama, revenge, and justice. American land belongs to American families, not corporate thieves. More stories coming your way. Warning: these are fictionalized narratives inspired by real themes, for entertainment only. Any similarities are coincidental.